Think about the life-changing moments that we've all had. It wasn't a big keynote speaker. It was something somebody said in the hall. It was something somebody said, I noticed this in you.
All right, well, hey, friends, welcome back to the Christian Podcaster. As always, I'm your host, Eric Nevins, and this is the official podcast of the Christian Podcasters Association, where we try to connect Christian podcasters like you. We help you start, grow, and monetize your show. Grow it into that thing that God put into your heart. That's what we want to do. All right, friends, we have a really great conversation with you, and actually kind of an exciting announcement today that I wanted to share with you. We're going to do this, and I hope to invite you to something really exciting. So I kind of made a little Freudian slip there. I'll tell you all about it. Our guest today, he helps messengers like you and me, podcasters, entrepreneurs, authors, grow their income and impact online. And he's creating the Hope Story Conference. Here to talk about all of that today is our guest, Brian Dixon. Brian, welcome to the Christian Podcaster.
Eric, I'm so excited to be here with you.
I'm excited to have you as well. And we've connected. We've kind of been acquaintances in the online world for a while. You were kind enough a couple of years ago to come to and speak at our Christian Podcast Summit in 2021.
Yes.
Do you remember
I
that?
laid out some fire on that one.
You did. It was
I cracked some eggs on that one.
it was fun, but you know what? I loved the energy that you brought. So that's good.
Yeah.
And you're doing some cool things with the Hope Story Conference and Hope Writers. We're going to get into all of that. I want you to share about what you're doing there. But first of all, tell us what the Hope Story Conference is, and then we'll kind of dive in from there.
I love it. So imagine a place where Christian writers, Christian speakers, and Christian podcasters are gathering together to meet, to encourage each other, to pray with each other, to worship together. We have a worship band. I'm so excited about that. To inspire each other to go out and share their message of hope with the world. See, I don't know about you, but as I look around this world, I'm like, the world needs more hope. Now we know that Jesus is the author of hope. We built our company on 1 Peter 3:15, which is always be ready to share the reason for the hope that you have. So we know the reason for the hope that we have is Jesus. But imagine authors and speakers and entrepreneurs and podcasters getting together to inspire and encourage each other. That's what we're all about. And so we call that the Hope Story Conference, because you have a story of hope to share. And we want to help you do that through education, through training, through inspiration, and through encouragement. And that's what the Hope Story Conference is all about. Meeting together, supporting with one another, and then going out and growing together.
Yeah, I love that. Okay. It's coming up, right? So we're right now, as we're recording this, is middle of November. And so then this is in 2 months. Is it like almost exactly 2 months? Is it when's it happening?
64 days away.
Okay, you're keeping track because you got a lot to do to get ready.
I'm so excited. Yeah, we've got amazing speakers, and it's gonna be fantastic. Yeah,
it is. We're gonna go into a little bit more of that, but I want to go into background. But first, we're gonna make a little announcement here, right? So I'm excited. I get to come to the event. Do you want to talk about that?
100%. See, because I think right now where we are in the world is that people are overwhelmed by content. And what really breaks through right now is coaching. And so as you and I started talking about it, we're like, what would it look like if we gathered together Christian podcasters in one place? So check, that's awesome. Come to the conference. You can meet each other. But number two is if you had a chance to sit down with Eric to share about your podcast, where you are in your podcasting journey, and then got some advice and some feedback to grow. And I'm like, that would be awesome. So that's what I'm most excited about for the Hope Story Conference. We have a podcasting track. So there's 8 interactive workshops and a keynote session just dedicated to podcasting. So you'll also be able to meet other podcasters, but also writers and speakers as well. Because let's face it, you need guests for your show. Yep. And maybe you thought about writing, and wouldn't it be great to go shoulder to shoulder and stand with some other people who want to share their message? But yeah, we decided to just make this such an easy yes by offering a significant discount just for people watching this, just for members of the Christian Podcaster Association.
Yep, I love that. All right, friends, we're going to talk about that. So you're going to have to stay tuned to hear the
Yeah.
discount, and I'll give you all the details a little bit later. But yes, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be at the Hope Story Conference. Am doing coaching as part
Yes.
of the event. So you can get an
Okay.
appointment with me. I will sit down with you. Any not only just questions that you have, but let's dive into your mindset, your message, all the things that you're working on, that maybe those roadblocks where you're like, I don't know if I want to be on social media. But okay, let's talk about that, right? Let's work on that stuff. And that's part of what I love to do with podcasters. So I get a chance. So Brian, thank you for having me at
Of
the event. We'll
course.
talk a
Yeah.
little bit more about that. Coaching, I think, will be is kind of my favorite thing. All right. So I want to know, and I want to go back into your story just a little bit because I think it would be helpful to hear some of that. Like I when I see you online, you're an apologist for hope, right? So was
Yes.
hope always your thing, or where did this come from?
Oh, that's such a good question. I think I am a perpetual optimist. And I think that as a kid of the king, that's our goal. Like that's our job. It's just to be excited about God's word, God's work, God's ways. Like look at what God's doing in the world. And I think that we are optimistic people by nature because we're holding on to a hope of things we haven't seen yet. Like that is the basic gospel, is for the joy set before him Jesus endured the cross. So we have to believe in the joy set before us, and we know the joy for us is the hope of eternity, right? Not just sanctification in the moment, not just cleansing of our sinful ways and where we are, because even Paul talks about how the things I want to do I don't do, and the things I don't want to do I do.
Yep.
So like I mess up every single day. I've messed up in this call already, right? Like I mess up all the time. But I'm looking forward to the day of Christ's return, to eternity. And I think that we have such an opportunity as podcasters to share a message for free. I've always been a technology guy. Like I was in a band in high school, and we were trying to figure out how to record our album on a 4-track recorder and how to
Oh
get
yeah.
our photos developed in the dark room at my high school. Like I've always been into the technology, even though it
Yeah,
was
yeah.
pretty archaic now. But the reason I've always loved technology is because technology is the Romans road of today. It's the way we share the
Yes.
message of hope. And I believe that podcasting, think about the power, right? Podcasting, putting somebody's voice in your eardrums, like inside your ears, that you can listen to this person for hours on end, apologize, right? Like make an argument for
Yeah.
truth and for the gospel in today's culture. It's an incredible opportunity for evangelism, for encouragement, for exhortation. And so that's why I love what you do. I love the work that you do. And I love
Yep.
Christian podcasters.
Well, I totally agree. I sometimes say that podcasting is the way the gospel goes out in the 21st
Yes.
century. I just think it's why I do what I do. Each and every one of you who are watching or listening to this right now, if you have a podcast or you're sharing content online, just you have the ability to, I say, bring the gospel to bear on your niche, right? Whatever your niche is. So I always, my favorite example is Paula Chamberlain, who is the sweetest spirit. She has a quilting podcast, right? And
Wow.
she brings the gospel to bear on that. Marcus Watson has a leadership podcast for how do you lead from the inside out, right? He brings the gospel to bear to pastors. I love it. And I think that's so powerful. There is absolutely something here. All right. So I want to hear, because you're doing something interesting also with
Mhm.
Hope Writers and kind of the whole Hope Media, what you're up to with that. Start the beginning and kind of take me through your vision and how that all goes for you.
Oh, absolutely. I think that, I truly believe this with everything I've got, is that you were knitted in your mother's womb. You were called according to it. You were born for such a time as this and called according to a purpose. So I think we start with, how was I designed? How was I made? Because God knitted you, right? That's it. Like the Bible says, you're his poem, you're his
Yeah.
workmanship, created to do good works. And so you look at where our world is today and you go, oh my goodness, we have an opportunity to share the hope that we have for free on the internet, and using high quality microphones and video technology and lighting and high speed internet. It's absolutely incredible. And so I look at it and I say, how can I be the best steward of the limited time God's given me? Part of my origin story is I was in a life-changing car accident when I was 18 years old. I got T-boned on an icy road in the middle of nowhere, Canada. I had
Wow.
3 doctors tell me I would never walk again. They actually had to use the jaws of life to pull me out of the car. I was trapped in the car. I broke my hip and my pelvis in 26 places.
Wow.
And so I was told, you're lucky to be alive and you'll never walk again. Well, number one, I've run marathons and triathlons, so they were wrong. But number two is, this is all borrowed time. Like, God gave me a second
Mm,
chance. Brian died when he was 18. The old me, metaphorically passed away. The new me is here to look at my hands and ask, like, how can I use these for you, Lord? And so I'm just blessed enough to be alive in 2023. And so are
yeah.
you. And so here we are with zero excuse, 168 hours in a week, asking, Lord, how do I use this? And I think the shift that we all need to make is from consumers to producers, to realize that when we give an account to our Savior, which I believe the Bible teaches, we'll one day give an account for the way that we lived. For us to say, listen, I binge watched all of these seasons of these shows, or I created my own shows. To flip the script on, am I going to consume or am I going to create? And I think, God's our perfect example, right? Jesus lived the perfect life. He created, he was the word. And so that's
Mhm.
what I'm all about, is inspiring Christian messengers, what we call hope messengers, to discover your message, to share your message. And then we even believe in publishing, to publish your message, because there's nothing quite like a book that lives on way beyond us. If you think about the Bible, I mean, it's been around a while. The book that you can write,
Right.
yeah, think it lives on. My great grandmother-in-law, my wife's great grandmother, wrote about a 24-page book. And that's the one thing that lives on from their generation. The only thing we have is we
Wow.
have a property up in Canada that they bought. So we still have the property and we have her book. That's it. Like, there's no pictures. It's just the book. And it's like, think about the power of sharing your message. Proverbs talks about a righteous man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. What better legacy to leave than to lead a messenger life and to share your message by sharing it in a podcast, writing a book. And so that's what we're about, helping you figure that out and actually make that happen.
Yeah. Brandon, I'm so interested in this. You said that you feel like you're on your borrowed time. Like, obviously you have an event like that. Did you
Yeah.
feel that immediately, or did you grow into it? How did that dawn on you?
Okay, so we skidded onto the highway in Manitoba, Canada, in the middle of February. There was this freak rainstorm. It was icy roads, and I couldn't stop the car. And so I skidded onto the highway. I saw the other car coming at me at highway speed. They couldn't stop either. I leaned to the middle of the car, and I closed my eyes and I clenched my fists. And I was like, okay, this is it. And boom! I mean, it
Wow.
was so loud. I still remember the sound of getting
Yeah.
hit by the car. I thought I would open my eyes and wake up in heaven. I mean, that's what I grew up to believe. I accepted the Lord when I was 7 years old. I'm like, I'll wake up in heaven. Um, Instead, I woke up, or I didn't wake up. I just opened my eyes probably a couple of seconds later, and I saw my clenched fist, and I looked at them like, what, like, so, like, shocked that I'm not in my new body,
Yeah.
And
Okay.
I did this. I slowly opened and closed my hands, and obviously I was in shock. But I'm
Right.
like
That's what I
looking
was.
at my hands. I'm like, oh, I have hands and they work. And then immediately there's this flood of emotion of like, I'm still alive and my hands work. And that night I literally wrote out a prayer called A Life Rededicated. And at that evening, at 18 years old, I rededicated my life to creativity and pursuing the Lord. Now, at the time, I thought it was with my band. I mean, I was literally in the car accident with my worship band on the way to lead our Bible college in a day of prayer. So I
Sure.
was already kind of in the creativity, mindset. But 2 years later, with all my dreams of making the band big, and we did everything, we toured and we did albums and everything, my band broke up, and so my dreams died because I put all of my hope in this band. And it was only then that the Lord really helped me see it. It was an idol in my life. And it wasn't the band, it was
Mm.
the idea of investing in others. And so that's when I became a teacher, and teaching led to helping others through social media, through writing their books.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Okay. So, friends, here's something for you. Like you don't have to have been in a life-threatening accident, right? Like
Right.
right where he so
I don't
because
recommend it.
don't do it. Yeah, no. But like, I love your point, Brian, that the reality is we all have the same amount of time
Mhm.
every day, or every in a day, right?
Yeah.
And we don't know how many of those we have, and so we have to do something with that. And are you being faithful to it? I think is the question that certainly I ask myself every day. Am I doing enough? What is enough, right? I think
Yep.
to love my kids, love my family, take care of them, and to help as many people as I can be the most like themselves in Christ as I possibly can.
I
Okay.
love that.
So for me, that involves podcasting. For you, it's writing and podcasting and entrepreneurs, and I love all that.
Yep.
Okay. What happens though if we don't make the most of that? If we don't share our story, if we don't, like,
Yeah. You want
what's
the
at
gospel?
stake?
Yeah.
Well, I don't mean like theologically. I've
Yeah.
had all those discussions in my 20s. It's
Right.
okay. Other people can debate it now, but
Yeah.
the but like if we don't share it, I think we miss some opportunities to influence
Oh,
people,
yeah.
right?
Oh,
What
yeah.
like how do
It
you
depends on
think
how
about
you're
that?
motivated. I think that there's, in sort of basic marketing psychology, there's two theories, right? There's hope, there's fear of loss and hope of gain. And
Hmm.
so my dad's first generation Christian. He was saved at 17 years old. He was saved because of the fear of hell, and I think that's really valuable. Is like the fear of loss. Like, so how are we motivated? I think for me, I'm motivated by wasting time. I just don't want to waste time. But others are motivated by the impact that we can make, and so I think it's either one. But the stronger one generally is fear of loss. So ask yourself at the end of your life. I talk to my grandmother every Sunday. So I talked to her yesterday. She's 97 years old. Ask yourself at 97 years old, when you look back on your life's work, what's on the shelf? Like, what did you make? What did you create? So I think that's an inspirational way to think about it.
Hmm.
The other way to think about it is how many people are stuck right now, stuck in their marriage, stuck in their parenting, stuck in a job they hate, stuck in a commute, and think about all the people that are going to stay stuck if you don't press record. They're going to stay stuck if you don't publish your show.
Right.
And the interesting thing, I love the parable of the talents. It's one of my favorite teachings of Christ, because he calls the servant who buried his talent, who didn't use his talent, he doesn't say, oh, good try or anything. He calls him wicked. And I'm like, wicked? Like, I'm actually wicked for not using my gifts that the Lord has entrusted with me? Like, he's given me something really amazing to use. And if I don't use it, like, it's called wicked. So I'm more motivated by that. Like, I just want to make the most, not out of fear, but out of the burden, right? When Jesus saw the crowd, he saw them as sheep without a shepherd. He felt a burden for them. And I guess that's the question, right? Ask
Yeah.
yourself, who are you burdened for? My last book was called Start With Your People. Who are the people? Who are the people that you're burdened for? I was
Yep.
a school teacher. So for a long time, I was burdened seeing these other school teachers that couldn't figure out technology. And I was like, I can help them with technology. Like, think about, who are you burdened for? Is it discouraged pastor? Is it the overwhelmed mom? Is it the empty nesting grandma? Like, who is it you're burdened for? And then ask yourself, how can I help them today? How can I create something that will inspire,
Yeah.
encourage them today?
Yeah. Okay. So some of what you're saying is take me back to a couple
Yep.
things.
Yep.
One is for me, when I starting podcasting, I felt like I hadn't done anything of any real note to anybody for that was good for anybody. Sure, my family loved me, and that's
Mm.
that's good, and it's important. Don't want to dismiss that, but I didn't feel like I had really accomplished anything in particular that would last beyond me. Right now today, I don't have that same sort of angst, right? Because I feel like, hey, actually, I'm confident that CPA has helped many people, and halfway there has helped many people.
Yes.
but that took some intentional choices, right? It took me saying, I'm going to risk this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do it. So this is the other thing that's just brought me back to is, I don't know if you've read Dan Pink's book about the power of regret. Have you seen that yet?
Oh, so
Oh,
good.
so good. So he's got these
Yeah.
4 different kinds of regret. One of them is boldness regrets, right? A lot
Yeah.
of people will regret not being bold,
That's right.
not taking a bold choice. And
Yep.
I think, so a lot of the people who are watching me are already podcasters or content creators in some way. But I think you probably have a next step, a next bold step. I've got one in my mind right now that
Yep.
I want to do, that I know I want to do, and I've wanted to do for a little bit, that I just haven't taken that step. But really, the in order to avoid having that risk, that of a boldness regret,
Yeah.
you have to step into it. You have to try it. You have to take that next
That's
step.
right. Face the fear, do it anyway.
That's right. Just
Do it.
go for it and see
Yeah.
what happens. It's
Press
coming. We'll
send.
see. That's right. Exactly. So you never.
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, that's how I think you ended up in our online
Love it.
summit, because I was like, I think I'm just gonna message Brian and see what happens.
Yeah.
And you were like, let's do it. I said, okay.
Let's do it.
So
Yeah.
that's always good. All right. I think what's at stake is you talked earlier about we are God's workmanship, right? We are his poetry, his
Yes.
poema.
Yeah.
The last thing I want is to miss those things, is to not create all the things that God has created me to create, right?
Yeah.
If
I love
there's
it.
something beautiful about a person, I call it finding yourself in Christ. If you can find yourself in
Yes.
Christ and be fully that person, that's beautiful. Okay. What do you see? You and I both are coaches. What do you see is the number one thing that people struggle with when it comes to sharing their message?
Oh my goodness. Well, I learned from Sean from Think Media. It's like just press record. Like we just got to press record. I think the first is just pressing record and putting out our first draft. Not necessarily like your first draft you're recording, but like your first episode. Just going from 0 to 1 is probably where people get stuck, because what we want it to be is perfect. We want to polish it until it's perfect, but I actually think you need to publish it before you can polish it. Like you need to actually get it out of your head and interact with the market. And it's such a tragedy. I see this because we run a book publishing company called Hope Books. When somebody writes their book with 0 audience feedback and 0 audience interaction, and then they wait and then they announce their book, two bad things happen. Number one, they don't sell any copies because nobody even knows about it. But then number 2 is they read it and they realize, whoa, it was too advanced, or it was too basic, or it just wasn't thinking about the reader. In Hope Writers, we talk about you make the pivot from the writing for yourself to writing for your reader. And so I think one of the best things you can do is start testing, start sharing your message out there. Because if you think about it, like literally right now, I think I'll tell this personal story. There is a dad in our community who lost his life recently. I'll just share it that way. He lost his life recently. And I have a weekly prayer time with the dads in our community. And I invited him to our prayer time. And he was on my list. I invited him week after week after week. He wrote me back on a Thursday, and then he lost his life on a Saturday. He wrote me back 2 days before he passed away. Wow. Who knows the impact, right? Who knows the impact that little email that I awkwardly send every week, and I feel kind of bad about it, like, come pray with us. Who knows? I don't know. Jesus knows, God knows. And so I just think about the urgency of now that is such a biblical teaching, that our life is like a vapor. Make the most of every opportunity. Why? Because the days are evil. This is our opportunity that we have. And so I think the thing holding us back is our story that we tell. And the story is that my voice doesn't matter. But I think if you look at any story of, Daniel, or the boy with the loaves and fishes, like David, God makes a big deal out of little people. And so you press and record and launching your show, it might just impact one person's life, and that's worth it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Right. And I talk about that a lot with people when we talk about audience size. Everybody wants to grow their audience, and I'm all for that. I want to help you do that for sure.
Right. I have a different take on that.
Go ahead.
Okay. Therefore, Hebrews 12, Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a cloud of witnesses, in other words, we already have an audience.
Oh, I like that.
You already have an audience. My grandpa who passed away is in my audience. He's looking at my life and he's saying, "Go, Brian, go." That's Hebrews 12. That's biblical. We have the Apostle Paul is looking at my life, right? Like the saints who came before us are looking at our life and they're saying, "This is your moment." And what does it say? Run the race, right? Throw off the
Yep.
things that entangle us. So shut down your Netflix, start up your podcasting microphone and do it with perseverance. Don't quit because you got
Yeah.
people watching you right now.
Right. Absolutely. Okay. That's great. That's a great reminder as well. I think we have to keep ourselves in perspective, right? There's a perspective of not just the people who listen or download our show,
Yeah.
but also of church history, right? This is
Yeah.
why I say when I do, before I do a podcast episode with Halfway There, one thing I always pray is I ask God to put it in the right earbuds at the right time because he knows all 8 billion people on the planet.
Yeah.
And whether that's in the next couple of, weeks after we record it, couple of years, maybe a couple of centuries. I don't know, right? You don't know.
You don't know.
Kind of impact that your story could have. Okay. I love that. That's really important. So we have to take action. So when you talk to people, and maybe this is like Hope Writer stuff or this in your coaching, when you talk to people about what are the first 3 actions to do, like, what do you recommend to people getting started sharing their message?
Yeah. I think number one is, starting to share and just getting through the awkwardness of pressing record. Like I mean, I'll be totally real with you. I don't like the sound of my own voice. Like my voice is about 2 octaves higher than I think it should be. Like I want to sound like The Rock, but I sound like Mickey Mouse, and that's okay. But I think just pressing record is one of the hardest things. And so what's the way to get used to it? Is just make it normal. Like just make it part of your routine that you press record. So I generally, usually at the beginning of the year, I'll challenge people. I'll say, go live for 5. And it just means the first 5 days of the year, just go live on Facebook. Because once you get through 5 lives, 6 isn't that hard. So like, just do it. And, my friend Ruth Sukup says, do it scared. So I like that. Just do it scared. Just do it. Because nobody's paying attention anyway, So
right.
That's number one. And then number 2 is create your XYZ statement. In other words, like know who you're writing for. And it's generally you 3 years ago. So I love to go back to my Google Calendar, go back to my full focus planner, or go back to my, my journal from 3 years ago, or even in prayer and just say, Lord, what was I struggling with in 2020? That one's kind of easy, actually.
Right.
You look back on your calendar and you go, who was I November 2020? What was I struggling with? And what have I learned in the last 3 years that I wish I knew then?
Yeah.
And you just talk about that. You just say, listen, for me, I bought out the other business partners in our company, rebuilt our team, went through the process of refocusing our mission around the gospel and really focusing around being bolder about our faith. I've learned a lot of lessons about being bold about your faith online in the last 3 years. That's stuff to share. So who needs to hear that? Where are they stuck? Where are they stuck? And how can you help them move forward? So I think number 1 is record. Number 2 is figure out who your people are. And then number 3 is do it every day. The discipline of, what we talk about in our family is don't break the chain. So I'll take out like my workout calendar. We're a Beachbody family. So we do like Beachbody video workouts. So I'll download the workout plan and I'll print it at Walgreens as a poster. And then I'll use a black Sharpie marker to cross off every day. And so today I'm on day 14 of our new program. Well, guess what? If I do 14 in a row, I'm not going to skip day 15 because I don't want to break the chain. So just don't break the chain. Just say, I'm going to do a show every Friday from now until Jesus comes home or comes back. It takes me home. And you probably won't. Like you'll probably keep going.
Yeah. Okay. That's great. All right. as you guys can see, friends, Brian brings the fire. Like we started with
Let's
that.
go.
Absolutely. And you're going to be speaking, right? Of course,
A
at
couple times,
the
yeah.
Hope Story Conference. Tell everybody what they're going to experience if they decide to come to Hope Story Conference.
I'm so excited about this. I looked around and I didn't see a conference like this that was focused specifically on growing Christian messengers in the world. There's a lot of inspirational conferences that'll give you the big speakers, but you kind of leave with like a lot of inspiration, but not a lot of practical application. And I wanted to do it differently. So Hope Story is all about helping you discover your story. What is your message of hope? What have you been through in your life that is wasted unless you share it with somebody else? And that's the whole theme of the conference, is helping you figure out your message. If you already know your message, well, let's help you grow your message. But most people haven't really figured out their core message. So we're bringing in Lisa Turkers, which I'm so excited because, she's got such a powerful story, many
Oh
powerful
yeah.
stories about discovering her message and sharing her hard story, especially her recent hard story. And so we're so excited to have her as one of our keynotes. We've got other keynote speakers talking about writing and speaking and podcasting. But the podcasting track at the Hope Story Conference is so practical. It's about getting your show off the ground, and it's about helping you grow your show. So that's what Hope Story Conference is all about. It's in January in Florida. So y'all that are not in the South, like, come to where it's warm for a couple of days in January.
Right.
It'll be a lot of fun.
Okay. Yeah, I will tell you, like, that is one of the reasons I want to go
Yes,
too,
come on.
because
It's
I
it's
love getting out of
Sarasota, Florida. It's beautiful.
Colorado in January for sure. Melissa Hughes is
Yeah.
going to be speaking, right? She's the
Yeah, she's the
podcast track.
best.
She's one of my friends.
Yeah.
Great on social as well. Okay, so by the way, friends, if you've never heard Lisa Tucker's talk, you need to come because she is fantastic. I saw her. I spoke in the same room as her. Like, I was there, and then like an hour later, she was there.
Oh,
There's no
wow.
connection at all, but I stick around because I was like, I have to hear the way she knows her audience, right? She knows exactly who they are, exactly what they need, and she speaks into that. I would listen to her speak pretty much any time because I think it's going to be amazing.
She does
Um,
these really intense focus groups for every book. My wife's been part of them. It's so
yeah,
powerful. It's so powerful. Yeah,
so
she's
smart.
amazing. Yeah.
Very smart. I love that. So if you want to learn from somebody like that, and you should, I would highly recommend it. Okay. So that's what people are going to experience. It's going to be great. It's going to be warm. That'll be nice too. Okay. So I love what you're doing, bringing people together, podcasters, writers, entrepreneurs as well. I think that's super smart because there's a symbiotic relationship with all of them, right?
Oh, yeah. You need guests. You want to be on other shows. Like, you gotta meet people. So we got to get out from behind the microphone and, get on a plane or get in the car and go meet people. Some of the most life-changing relationships I have are because we had shared experiences. We went through something together, and I think there's nothing quite like being in the room together.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, so let's tell people how they can get it. So the best way to
Yeah.
do it. Oh, by the way, so then there's a special deal. I'll let you tell them
Special
about that in a
deal.
second. You go to hopestoryconference.com/podcasters.
That's right.
Hopestoryconference.com/podcasters. You can get that. I'm going to grab that link and I'll toss it in the chat here. You guys can get it, and then we can put it up on the screen. So you can absolutely do that. But tell people about this special deal that you're offering for CPA.
Oh, yeah. Well, we wanted to make it just such a no-brainer to say yes. And, I just believe so much in Christian podcasting. I think podcasting is such a powerful medium to share your message. And so we want you in the room. So we're doing 30% off right now, which is over $100 savings on the regular price ticket. It's a reasonably priced conference anyway, but I think it's just extra incentive. But you got to say yes before Thanksgiving. We decided to make this a pre-Thanksgiving special.
Yep.
So you get basically 10 days to sign up, grab your ticket, and then figure out the logistics. But we'd love to have you there. It's going to be an amazing time of connection. When I took over the company a year ago, one of the first things that we did is we hired a worship band to kick off our conference. And I got to tell you, I was so scared. I was so scared to be bold and say, you know what? We're not just going to be a conference, but we're going to lean into the Lord. And I got to tell you, it was so incredible to look around the room and see other entrepreneurs, other speakers, other podcasters, all worshiping the same God. And it's just so powerful. And so that's what I'm honestly, like, people ask me what I'm excited about for the conference. And yeah, Lisa Turkers is speaking there, and we're going to have great workshops. but it's the idea that we're all gathered together, singing together and worshiping together. Like, it doesn't get any better than that.
Right. I love that. Okay, so there's a code, right? They got to use CPA
That's right.
to get that
CPA.
30% discount.
Yeah, for
So
Christian Podcasters Association. So use the promo when you check out, go to the coupon code or the promo code, type in CPA, and you'll save 30% off. And again, it's only for a limited time, so make sure you take advantage of that today.
yeah, absolutely. So 10 days, guys, I'm going to be promoting that, sharing it, but make sure you do it. If you're interested, if you've been inspired by what we said here, there's just going to be a lot more of that.
Oh yeah.
And you can always sign up for a session with me, right? So it'd be totally free. We'll meet each other in person. I'm excited. I'm really, Brian, I'm grateful for the opportunity to do that, because I think that's connecting podcasters in that way is exactly what I'd like to do. So
You think about the life-changing moments that we've all had, it wasn't a big keynote speaker. It wasn't even a workshop. It was something somebody said in the hall. It was something somebody said, I noticed this in you. And so, Eric, you're so amazing at that. That's why I'm so excited that you're doing these one-on-one sessions. Just to say, I noticed this. Or the way that I say to my coaching is like, have you ever thought about? Like, the thing that's obvious to you is magic to other people. So like, what's the thing that you see in somebody that they can't see for themselves? And I think it requires having a conversation and being there in person. So we'd love to have you at the conference, at the Hope Story Conference. It's going to be absolutely amazing.
I love it. All right, guys, one more time, hopestoryconference.com/podcasters. Use the code CPA for 30% off your tickets. You can be there. I'm going to be there so we can meet in person. I think we're going to do a CPA meetup. We're going to do a podcasting meetup. I guess we'll work that out. That'll be a lot of fun, and we will get to connect there in a warm place in the middle of January. So that'll be great. Brian, thanks so much for being here.